Taisa?
Oh, here, Dr. A. Samantha's having a mic problem. She's in class, but she just messaged me saying that her mic's not working for some reason.
Okay. Gypsy?
I'm here.
Galare?
I'm here.
Sharzad? Sharzad?
Yes, I'm here.
Emine?
I am here, teacher.
Helen?
I'm here, teacher.
Minjon?
Here, teacher.
Meseret?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, so one more time for those who are in Raha? Raha?
Rahul is here.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I have a problem with my mic.
Mm-hmm. Mackenzie? Mackenzie? Guler? Guler? No Guler. Hedsike?
Morning, Dr. A here.
Mhm. Nathan? Nathan? Fateme? Fateme?
Hello, good morning. I'm here.
And that's it. Okay, guys, it doesn't mean that you are on, you are here. That's two different stories, okay? So, anyway, so we will start with dental materials. So, in order for you to see what are the chapters for dental materials, if you click your calendar, it shows there chapters 43 to 47. So that's a lot of chapters. For one, two, three, five chapters. Okay. So I guess because of your beautiful presentations, it will be easier for you to understand more about dental materials. Though the dental materials, we need to understand it. We need to understand it carefully because it is not that easy. Okay, so make sure that we understand the dental material. So let's start with chapter 43. So kindly turn on yeah, your pages to chapter 43, please, and then we will start with chapter 43. So restorative and aesthetic dental materials. Let me move your yeah. So again, as we always do, we always have to read and understand the key terms. Okay, there's a lot of key terms, but we will do this. Adhere, meaning to stick or glue two or more items together, meaning we want them to hold. Okay, alloy. We are introducing a lot of dental terminologies with you guys, so we have to understand this one. Alloy, the combination of two or more metallic elements with each other when in the fluid state. So the alloy means they are metals. Okay, they are metals, and then we combine them together. Example of metals can be silver, copper, tin. So those were different metals. Amalgam, it is a silver tooth filling material made from alloy with one of the elements being mercury. So I want you also to understand that we have only two types of filling materials. Two types. It is the amalgam and composite resin. Okay, amalgam and composite resin. By the way, guys, before I forget, every time that I would need to say something, I will tell you so I won't forget. Always be ready for the red and blue pencil. Okay, I pencil pen, red and blue pen, and make sure that you have copies of the odontogram because anytime we can give you some chartings, okay? So make sure you have copies of odontogram and blue or black and red pen. Anyway, so let's continue. So amalgam, a silver tooth filling material made from alloy with one of the elements being mercury. So amalgam is the silver filling, and you have the idea of what is the amalgam. And there are two elements of to make an amalgam, which is the alloy combination of different metals and mercury. Auto-cured, hardening or setting by a chemical reaction of two materials. So Auto-cured, meaning you always have two different materials, the catalyst and the base. If you mix them together, that's the time they will harden. But if you're not mixing them together, it will not gonna harden. So all the time, the auto-cured hardening of two materials. Ceramic clay type material that is hard, brittle and heat and corrosive resistant material. So when you hear the word ceramic, I know you already have an idea. You have your dishes made up of ceramic. You have your mug made up of ceramic. So we also have this ceramic thing that the material made from ceramic that we can do for a tooth or artificial tooth. Coupling agent, an additive to a substance that provides a chemical bond between two dissimilar materials. So I know with your assignments, we asked some of this one, right? So you can get it. And again, when you are doing assignment, we have to understand not just writing, okay? We have to understand. So coupling agent, this one is an additive to a substance. They add it, we call it coupling agent, so that it will provide to bond between two dissimilar materials. Bond meaning to adhere also, okay, or to hold. Cured, the setting of the material by a chemical or physical process. So, cure again, when you hear the word setting, I'm also talking about hardening, okay? Oh, it is going to set, meaning I'm telling you, oh, it is going to harden, okay, to get hard. So that is also a word that we can use in dentistry. Setting, it sets. It will be hardened. It will get hard. Okay. Dual cured, a composite resin material that has both light cure and auto cure properties. Okay, I want you to understand what is curing or cured versus auto cure. The autocure, I told you that there will be two materials. Once you mix them, that is the time they will harden. That's why there is a mixing time for that. We need to move fast. Unlike the cure, only curing, the material is only one material. Okay? It will not going to set not until we cure them. Cure, that is the word cure. And how can we cure it? By the use of curing light. We have the curing light. So with the material that we need to do cure for setting, we have all the time to make our materials distributed with the tooth, and then it will not gonna set, it will not gonna harden, not until we cure them, not until we place light in order for them to harden. Compared to the auto cure, the auto cure or self cure, sometimes we call it auto cure or self cure, they have two different materials, which is catalyst and base. We mix them together, and once they are mixed, it start to harden. That's why we need to move fast. Okay. Dual cured, a composite resin material that has both light cure and auto cure properties. So the dual cure, okay, when we mix them together, remember once you mix the two materials together, they will start hardening, right? But the dual cure, yes, you mix two different materials, they start to harden. They start to harden, but they will not going to harden very, very hard, or they will not going to set not until we cure them. They're still soft, not until we cure them. Aesthetic. Aesthetic, to be artistically pleasing or have an attractive appearance. We have to use the word aesthetic to make it beautiful, to make it pleasing to the eyes. So most of the time, the front teeth, the anterior teeth, we do more of aesthetic. Aesthetic meaning we want them to be beautiful. So why do we need the word aesthetic? Okay, there are two things that we do when we are doing the filling, either aesthetic or function. Function, okay, like for amalgam versus composite, doing for posterior teeth, we all know that amalgam is much harder than the composite. So some patients prefer amalgam due to function. Maybe, oh, every time I eat, I chew very hard. I like nuts. I like hard food, crunchy food. So I prefer amalgam filling for my posterior teeth. Some choose aesthetic. Oh, I want tooth colored for my posterior teeth, even though I know it is less harder than the amalgam, but I want aesthetic because every time I open my mouth, I do not want them to see that I have a silver filling. So, my question, do you understand now the difference between aesthetic and function? Okay, good. Now, filler. Filler, inorganic material that adds strength and other characteristics to composite resin. So the filler is for composite resin, and we will discuss the three different kinds of filler. We have bulk or big filler, which is the macrofill. We have the fine, which is the microfill, and we have the hybrid, which is combination of both. Galvanic. Galvanic is an electrical current that takes place when two different dissimilar metals comes together. So the galvanic, or we call it thermal shock, galvanic action or thermal shock, when different metals, two different metals come together or hit together. Example of this: if you have amalgam filling, and when you are eating, it touches by your fork, your amalgam filling, and then you're going to have this thermal shock, which is the galvanic action. Gold, a soft yellow corrosive resistant metal that is used in making of indirect restorations. I want you to understand between direct and indirect restorations. Direct restorations is when the dentist do your restoration inside the dental office on your chair. That is direct restoration. Indirect restoration means the dentist needs to take an impression, send it to the lab, the laboratory will do it, and then send it back to you, and then you're going to cement it. That is indirect restorations. So the gold, it says it is an indirect restoration. Before, they always use the gold, but now it is more popular to use the silver. Irregular, not straight, uniform, or symmetric. Malleability, the ability of material to withstand permanent distortion under compressive stress without sustaining permanent damage. So, malleability, ability of a material to withstand permanent distortion under compressive stress. So, when we are using materials and place it inside our mouth, we all know that our mouth, all the time we use it, chewing, talking, even, for example, you are with stress, you grind your teeth, you clench your teeth. So all the time, the stress on our teeth is very, very hard. So we want to choose a material that is capable of um, to withstand, or meaning they can handle the stress what we're doing inside our mouth, regardless if we are eating, chewing, biting, everything. Matrix, foundation that binds a substance together, continuous phases in which particles or filler are dispersed in composite resin. Microleakage, a microscopic space between the tooth and the restorative material where a passage of bacteria and fluids can pass. So, when the dentist is doing a filling, we do not want any microleakage, because if we do, then our filling will be unsuccessful. So when they are doing a filling, they want to make sure that they seal everything, no microleakage, because once there is a microleakage, then that is the start of recurrent caries. So recurrent caries meaning they cannot, there is a space between the restorative material. That's why there can be a passage of bacteria to go into the fluid. Or sometimes the dentist might do a perfect restoration, sealed everything, no micro leakage, but eventually there will be some micro leakage because of the patient biting too hard, chewing gum. Honestly, chewing gum, if you have a feeling, it magnets. Like, look at this. When you chew gum, even how hard is your restorative filling, it might wiggle. Okay, but of course sometimes we need to chew gums. Palladium, soft steel, white tarnish resistant metal that occurs naturally with platinum. Percolation, the process of a liquid substance slowly passing through a porous substance like filter. Process of percolation, that is a process of liquid substance slowly passing through a porous substance like a filter. Pestle, a tool or object with a rounded ends used to pound or crush material. So, mortar and pestle, the pestle. Because before we used to ground or we used to pound a material. Platinum, silver, white, noble metal that does not corrode. So these are the good metal that we always use because they prevent corrosion. Porcelain, hard white translucent ceramic material made by baking and then glazing it to match tooth color. So porcelain is the most commonly used ceramic. Okay, porcelain is the most commonly used ceramic. Restorative, to restore or bring back to its normal appearance. So the restorative word or restoration is a big word. Okay, we cannot only use the word restoration just for filling. Restoration, it says to restore or bring back to its natural appearance. So restoration can be filling, can be crowns, can be bridge, because we restore your teeth. Okay, so restorative or restoration is a big word. Retention, very important to remember. What is retention? Retention, the act of, sorry, holding something by means of adhesive or mechanical locking or both. So retention meaning to hold, retention meaning to lock. Okay, so when we are doing both the amalgam and composite restoration, they have two different methods of retention. And I will show it to you later of retention. Because we want, when we place something on our tooth, it will not going to fall out, right? Because sometimes, oh my goodness, my filling is just yesterday. Now I do not have the filling. So meaning the retention is not enough to hold your filling. Spherical meaning round. Strain is distortion or change produced as a result of stress. Stress, internal reaction or resistance to an externally applied force. Tarnish, the loss of its luster from exposure to air and moisture. Viscosity, physical property of fluids that are thick or semi-fluid. So viscosity is more of sticky type. Okay, we know that water is fluid. Okay, water, fluid. But when we talk about this viscosity, we want that is thick and semi-fluid, like honey. Honey has the viscosity. Okay, so honey compared to water, that is viscosity. Okay, wetting, covering or soaking something with liquid. So that is wetting. So now we want to use these words. Okay, there are some words that is you think always like the stress, the strain. What we're talking about stress and strain is all about the dental, okay? Do not take it the general stress and the general strain. They're all talking about the dental here. Okay. So, Guler, are you here now? Guler? Guler.
I am here.
Okay. You just came, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Nathan. No, Nathan?
Just
Na-
okay.
Okay. All right. So let's continue. Now let's move to restorative and aesthetic dental materials. Okay, dental materials fulfill an important role in the way dentistry is delivered. The dentist will select specific dental materials for procedure because of several variables. Okay, the extent of decay in the tooth, how much tooth structure remaining intact to hold the new material in place, and the condition of the entire mouth. The location of the restoration and cost factor, it is important the dental assistant understand the properties of dental materials used in the dental office. Okay, so meaning it doesn't mean that you want composite. Composite is always okay because, as they mentioned, depending on the extent, condition, and what is that? Extent, condition, how much tooth structure remaining. Okay, but the dentist, as much as possible, will going to tell you, and then it is always between the patient and the dentist to agree. Okay, so the restorative and aesthetic dental materials most commonly used in restorative dentistry are this. So we have the amalgam, we have the composite resin, we have the glass ionomer, temporary restorative materials, tooth whitening products, gold alloy, and ceramic casting. So what do we mean by ceramic casting? It's not always crown. We have some removable, we call it inlay onlay. That is also a ceramic casting. Now, restorative is a term in dentistry that describes the ability to remove decay or disease and restore the proper function of a tooth. Aesthetic, sometimes spelled aesthetic, is a term that refers to recreating a tooth or teeth with an artistically pleasing appearance. The type of dental material introduced in this chapter are restorative and aesthetic. Okay, so standardization of dental materials. When a new dental material is developed, the product undergoes a strict evaluation and assessment before it is marked to the profession. The Council of Dental Material, Instruments, and Equipment must form as a subcommittee by the ADA in combination with federal organizations. So, meaning before they will introduce a product, they make sure that it is ADA accepted and the FDA accepted. Okay. Criteria for a new material. I want you to know this one, the criteria for a new material. It must not be poisonous, okay, or harmful to the body. It must not harmful or irritating to the tissue of the oral cavity. It must help protect the tooth and tissue of the oral cavity. It must resemble the natural dentition as closely as possible so as to be aesthetically pleasing. It must be easily formed and placed in the mouth to restore the mouth's natural contour, and it must conform and function despite limited access, wet conditions, and poor visibility. Okay, so when we are assisting the dentist, it is very important that we keep the isolation. We are the one responsible for isolation. So what do I mean by isolation? We want to remain them dry. Okay, that's why we have the weak and the strong evacuation suction. So we have the high volume evacuator and saliva ejector. So we always hold that one. Aside from using cotton rolls, gauze, and dental dam. Now, properties of dental materials. The types of dental materials used to restore teeth must respond to and withstand specific factors associated with oral conditions. The following characteristics enhance the ability of dental materials to withstand the oral environment allow for easy application. So again, guys, there are some recall questions. It's up to you if you want to answer it or no, okay? But that is also can help you. Okay, now, mechanical properties. The average biting and chewing force that takes place in the posterior area of the mouth of people with natural teeth is approximately 170 pounds, average out of 28,000 pounds pressure per square inch. So meaning that is the force that we are giving our posterior teeth. So again, what is stress? Stress is the internal resistance or force that can cause distortion. Distortion meaning that can damage it. Strain is the change of deformation of a material as a result of stress. So stress and strain are applicable to both liquid and solid. Stress and strain go together. You cannot have one without another. So they are partners. Now, types of stress and strain. We have three types of stress and strain, as you can see, and it's also in your book. Tensile stress and strain pull and stretch the material. Okay, pull. So meaning they are pulling. Both sides are pulling. So that is the tensile stress and strain. Now we have the compressive stress and strain, result from two forces directed toward each other. So if tensile is going like this, they're pulling. Now compressive is they are pushing, both. That is compressed stress and strain. Now when we have the shear and stress and strain occur from two forces of material parallel to each other sliding in opposite direction. So the shear is combination of tensile and compress. They go different ways. So again, tensile is pulling, compress, stress and strain is pushing, and the shear is doing two different ways, both pushing and pulling. So these are the three types of stress and strain. Now let's go to ductility and malleability. This is a measure of material's ability to withstand permanent deformation by either tensile or compressive forces. Ductility is the ability of a material to have its shape changed by being stretched or by pulling or tensile force without it losing strength or breaking. This property allows a metal to be made into a thin wire. So that is ductility. Malleability is the measure of material's ability to be extended in all directions by a compressive force, like rolling or hammering. Wait, guys. Sorry about that. I need to drink because or else I will cough. My throat is getting dry. Okay. So now let's move to a thermal change. So thermal meaning hot or cold. If a person drinks hot coffee and then immediately eats ice cream, the temperature in the mouth can change from 150 to 100 within seconds. These thermal changes are of major concern for two reasons when selecting dental materials: contraction and expansion, the need to protect the pulp from thermal shock from extreme differences in temperature. Remember, when you are placing a hot water into a cold glass, sometimes our glass cracks, right? So that is an example. In the tooth, okay, in our tooth, we protect the pulp because the pulp is the nerve of the tooth. If the pulp will be damaged, they can end up dying. The tooth will die. They can be non-vital because of the damage of the pulp. So we always protect the pulp. If I introduced to you the six basic or six common materials in the lab last time, right? So we are going to only focus on that six um, dental materials. What are those? Calcium hydroxide, zinc phosphate, polycarboxylate, glass ionomer. We have the polycarboxylate glass ionomer. We also have the what's the other one? There's
Dicol.
dicol is calcium
Dicol.
hydroxide. Okay, so guys, we need to know the chemical term, okay, and then you need to know the brand name. So dicol is for calcium hydroxide, polycarboxylate is for Durelon, zinc phosphate is for Flex, glass ionomer is the Keetac, Zoe. Zoe is zinc
Zoe,
oxide eugenol, and IRM is intermediate restorative materials, and one more. We have six. Anyway, so we have six. So we're going to master that six. Those are the commonly used materials. And then these materials, sometimes they are for amalgam or for composite or for both. Okay. And then when we are talking about the thermal, there are some materials that produces heat, like the zinc phosphate cement. That's why we mix them in a thick glass slab. Okay, so it really affects the pulp. Okay, so now contraction and expansion. When temperature changes, each type of them will contract or expand. Okay, it is essential that tooth structure and the restorative material have a nearly as possible the same rate of contraction and expansion. Significant changes in the degree of contraction expansion can cause a dental material to pull away from the tooth, which can result in micro leakage or faulty restorations because, of course, they pop. Okay, this microscopic separation of material and tooth can allow oral fluids, debris, and microorganisms to enter between the restoration and the wall of cavity preparation. The term word is the process of percolation. The percolation again is a microscopic separation or micro leakage. And then we do not want that in a faulty restoration. Okay, sometimes the faulty restoration, maybe the dentist didn't seal the whole tooth, or I told you, sometimes it is also the patients. Even they were advised not to eat or bite sticky, crunchy, hard food, but they love to eat it, then it might cause any micro leakage. Electrical properties. An electrical current, also known as galvanic action or galvanic shock, electrical current, also known as galvanic action or galvanic shock. Okay, can take place in the oral cavity when two different or dissimilar metals are present. My example is you have an amalgam filling or you have a gold stainless steel metal restoration or silver steel. Touches by your fork when you are eating, then you can feel some shock. We call it galvanic shock or electric current shock or action. Okay. Saliva also consists salt, which makes it good conductor of electricity to metallic components of different compositions, to different types of metals in restoration, or a metal object such as fork placed in the mouth can act as a battery. So meaning it might give you some thermal shock or galvanic shock. So this one, I want you to know, can you see my cursor? Can you see my cursor?
No.
No.
Everything? No? Okay. Okay. All right. I will show, can you see the tooth number 3, 4, and 3, 5 in this photo? Covered by a metal.
Yes.
Okay. So the other one is, I guess, both are MOD. Both are MOD. They are not filling material. They are, we call it inlay or onlay. So that metal was sent to the laboratory, and then the laboratory make it, and then we cement it. Okay, so these are gold.
Okay. An alley on alley or alley.
Inlay, inlay, or
Inlay.
onlay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you want to see inlay and onlay,
Yeah.
because I might use this word, I will show you later it is in the chapter 56, I guess. I'll check the
Yeah.
chapter. So these are indirect restoration. We send it to the lab and then we cement it. Okay, so those were made of metals. Now let's move to corrosive. Okay, can you see if this is quadrant 2? This is quadrant 2. Can you see 2,6, 2,7, and 2,8 molars, right? So
Right.
the 2,6, you see amalgam restoration. Okay. If this will be the amalgam restoration, can you tell me what classification is this? Class 1, class 2?
It's class 1.
Class 2.
Class 1.
Class 1.
That's
This
occlusal
is
surface.
class 1. Remember,
Yeah.
class 2 only if class 2 if they involve mesial or distal or both. Right?
Yeah.
But this doesn't involve
Occlusal.
mesial and distal. So this is class 1. So what are the surfaces? Occlusal, right? And then it shows here occlusolingual. That can be class 1 also.
Yeah.
There is a lingual pit there. So this is class 1. Remember all the time, when it comes to posterior teeth, and we include or we involve mesial or distal or both, that will be class 2. If we are not involving any mesial or distal in a posterior teeth, that is class 1. Class 1 can involve, remember, occlusal. They can involve lingual,
buccal.
and they can include buccal. Okay, so we're good with class 1. So corrosion, this is the meaning of corrosion. Look at the amalgam filling. They are not shiny anymore, right? They're not shiny anymore. So corrosion is the reaction that occurs within a metal when it is exposed to corrosive factors such as temperature, humidity, and saline. Certain food contain metal forms that cause corrosion of a dental material. The surface discoloration, yeah, that is the meaning. Discoloration that we see in older amalgams, restoration in the mouth is referred as tarnish. So discoloration meaning tarnish. That's why you might hear tarnish and corrosion. So meaning they are not as shiny as silver as from before. Most corrosion, however, involves surface discoloration and can be removed easily with the using of polishing agents. So we can polish them. We can make them again shiny. So I want you to look at the occlusal surface, not the OL, okay, on this photo, not the OL, the one that is separate in the occlusal. So you might think, why is it not connected? Sometimes it is connected, right? It can be one big feeling of that occlusal connected to the occlusolingual. You might think, why is it not connected? Actually, when the dentist saw, oh, there's another uh, caries on the same tooth, but now it's occlusolingual. Do you get my point? So it doesn't mean that we
Yes.
have 2 or 3 different restorations. Why didn't we connect everything? Because they appeared different times. Very good, if you understand. Good. Look at the one that is on occlusal.
The reasons of they're not connected is because they appeared in different time.
Yes. Maybe 2 years ago you have the occlusal only, right? You have the
Yeah.
occlusal for 2 years, for 5 years. And remember, in the clinic, we have regular checkup. We have regular checkup once a year or twice a year. The dentist always check. Oh, this one is, we call it incipient, meaning little caries. We will observe. The dentist will not going to do restoration right away if the caries or cavity or decay is very little. And then eventually, after 1 year, still okay. After 3 years, oh, this is not okay anymore. We need to fill it. So that's the reason we have this type of filling. All right. So if you look at the occlusal area only, you can see the borders. Look at the borders, right? You can see that the amalgam is more like expanded. They are not even to the tooth, right? They're not even. So meaning there is again the combination of expansion, the one that we talk, right? Let me go that way. They expanded already. So meaning they go more up. Okay, because there's another word. Anyway, I can get it later. That's why it is not level on the tooth already. So if you have this one, there is a possibility of micro leakage that we are talking. And look at the sides. Look at the what you call the borders of that occlusal. There is some stains, right? So maybe that stains, once we remove it, there is already a micro leakage. Micro leakage meaning very small, micro leakage, very small microscopic holes. And that can be a start of a micro leakage. And once you have this micro leakage, there is a tendency of the fluid bacteria to go inside the restoration. And that will cause a recurrent caries. Imagine we fill this tooth already. So when you have a feeling, when you have a restoration, regardless if it is composite, amalgam, crowns, or bridges, you still need to take care of your teeth. It doesn't mean you have a feeling good, it will last forever. It will be good for all the years. No, we still need to take care of our teeth, meaning brush and floss. So you will understand the importance of brushing and flossing. This is a big investment, actually. When I am doing my oral hygiene instruction with my patients, I always tell them brushing and flossing are a big investment, less dental work in the future. Dental work is very important, very expensive. But brushing and flossing takes you how many minutes a day, twice a day, at least once a day for flossing. Even you buy like brushes, toothbrushes, electric toothbrushes, it's still not expensive. And again, I always tell you that the mouth is the portal of all bacterial entries. And then if we keep our mouth clean, that will take care of the overall health. Overall health, because we're not taking in bacteria inside our body. So if I will ask you about the tooth, if this is 2.6, 2.7, what is the classification for decay of this 2.7? Class 1, class 2?
Class
Class
two.
Class one.
Class 1, because it did involve mesial or distal. Again, class 2 is only for posterior teeth that will include or involve mesial or distal or both. Meaning occlusal is always occlusodistal, occlusomesial, mesio-occlusodistal. So that is class 2. Class 1 is only occlusal, buccal, or lingual. Now let's move to hardness. Hardness is the
Sorry,
mechanical
doctor.
property. Is the mechanical
Sorry.
property? Yes.
May I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Um, could we have different filling material in one tooth?
Oh yes, yes, that's correct. Yes, some as I've mentioned, our filling, our decay comes in different times, right? So maybe you have already a buccal pit amalgam or lingual pit amalgam, and then eventually there is an occlusal or mesio-occlusal decay, and the patient decided to choose a composite
Common.
instead of amalgam. Yes,
Yeah.
it can happen.
Thanks.
Yeah. So hardness is the mechanical property of a dental material. A permanent restoration must have enough hardness to resist indentation. scratching, or abrasion. It is an indication of strength and wearability. So hardness is very important. We cannot use, because as I mentioned, our teeth, our mouth, we use it all the time, talking, chewing, grinding, clenching, everything. Even with your emotions, you're not talking, you're not eating. With emotions, it shows. If you are mad, if you are stressed, your teeth comes together and you are producing clenching. So see, even emotions, not only eating and talking. Solubility is the degree to which a substance will dissolve in a given amount of another substance. Dissolve. Okay, so what is dissolve? Let's do this. Guys, I want you to understand what we're talking about. This is more of, honestly, if you understand, easy. But sometimes do not memorize. Sometimes we need to understand what we're talking about. Example, sand has low solubility because it does not dissolve easily. Sugar has high solubility because it does dissolve easily. So what do we mean by that? In a glass of water, place sand. Sand. It won't dissolve. Okay, now in another glass of water, you place sugar or salt. Eventually, you cannot see the sugar. Look at the other glass of water with sand. The sand is still there. So that is the meaning of solubility. They do not dissolve or they dissolve. Are we good with solubility? That dissolve and not dissolve? Guys, understood?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. Now, application properties. For dental materials to have specific mechanical properties, steps must occur in application of a dental material. Techniques used in the placement help create the following effects. Okay. So flow. Guys, you can mute anyone if you think there is. Okay. All right. Flow. Flow dental materials are designed to have a certain amount of flow for placement. Flow meaning they will flow, right? We cannot place a material that is so hard and then we cannot distribute them. So they need to flow. Okay? This allows the material to move and fill in the preparation of a tooth. When decay is removed from a diseased tooth and healthy tooth structure remain, is prepared to receive permanent sealing material, that the dental material must be pliable. So we always use the word pliable. Pliable enough to flow in the preparation. Pliable meaning you are able to manage. Okay, like a clay dough. When you have a clay dough, right? Okay, rock. You cannot um, move the rock. It is, or a stone. It is hard as it is. Unlike a clay dough, when you have a clay dough, you can play it with your hand. You can manage because it is softer. So that is the meaning of pliable. Pliable enough to flow in the preparation. Okay. Adhesion is ability of two unlike material to adhere to each other. So meaning adhesion is to hold two different materials. Okay. So adhesion between dental material and the tooth is a major concern. So not all material will adhere or compatible to the tooth structure. That's why we need to find out. Oh, when I use this one, it will not gonna hold with the tooth. So we need to know. Without proper adhesion, micro leakage can occur and the restoration could come out. Again, when the dentist is choosing the right material, she wants to make sure that it will adhere on the tooth. There are a lot of cases that the dental materials come off and then they will call to you, they will make an appointment. Oh, my feeling 2 days ago fall out, can I come back? And then of course the dentist wants to find out what happened, and then they want to make sure once they bring it back, it will adhere properly. Wetting. Okay, so characteristics of dental material that will affect the adhesion process are wetting, meaning the being wet or using a liquid, Viscosity, surface characteristics, and film thickness. Wetting is the ability of a liquid to come into contact with a solid surface. Okay? And the small irregularities that may be present. Example, water has high wetting ability because it flows easily. Okay? So when we are doing a restoration, the dentist will try to avoid wetting. They do not want any water, saliva, but because you might be confused. But there are some restorations we want it moist. Moist is different from wet. Okay? Viscosity is the property of a liquid that causes is not to flow easily, not to flow easily. So as I've mentioned, viscosity, it is a liquid, but examples are maple syrup or honey. They does not flow easily compared to water. The water flow easily. Okay. So that is the meaning of viscosity versus wetting. Wetting always think it is liquid, it is water. Viscosity, it is like a honey, a maple syrup, not going to flow easily. The surface characteristics that are important in wetting are the chemical nature of the tooth surface and how the dental material flows on that surface. An example of this is how rain on your windshield runs, but when a chemical is added to the windshield to help repel the rain beads up. For adhesion to take place and remain permanent, the cement must have a thin film thickness of 25 microns or less to join the tooth and restoration. It is important to remember that the thinner the film thickness, the stronger the adhesive junction. Do you get that? That is important also. The thinner the film thickness, the stronger the adhesive junction. Now let's talk about retention. Retention is the ability to hold two things firmly together when they will not adhere to each other naturally. Example, amalgam filling and cast metals will not naturally adhere directly to the tooth structure. Retention is an extremely important concept in dentistry because dental restorations, casting, and appliance must be held in place and use of materials and retention methods. So retention meaning to hold two things firmly together. And you will hear a lot of retention thing in our dentistry. So maybe the retention is not so clear. Maybe the retention is not too strong. We need retention. So retention is again to hold two things, okay, to adhere naturally. And I mentioned to you, we only have two types of filling, amalgam and composite. And then they have two different types of retention. Because amalgam and tooth structure do not adhere together, a traditional cavity preparation must include retention form within the tooth structure. The dentist will use a burr. Okay, so this one. I will show you. We're talking about amalgam here. Okay, I know because you missed my beautiful drawing. I hope that my beautiful drawing will make you understand more. So we have two types of fillings, right? Amalgam and composite. So for example, amalgam, let's go with amalgam. Tooth preparation, when you hear the word tooth preparation, the dentist is starting to drill the tooth. Okay? So we call it for cavity preparation. The dentist will going to drill the tooth because of cavity. When it is crown, we call it crown preparation. Okay? So class 2, for example, class 2. Okay, the dentist will going to do class 2 amalgam. So the dentist will drill the tooth. Okay. The dentist will drill the tooth. This is a molar class 2. The dentist amalgam, we'll use inverted cone burr. You know the burrs, right? The one that we place on the high-speed handpiece. You will learn a lot of different burrs, round burrs, inverted cone, pear shape, flame shape, a lot of burrs. Okay, you will know them all. Okay, so the dentist will going to choose an inverted cone burr. It is shaped like this. That is the burr. So when the dentist going to make a preparation on the tooth that is decayed and using amalgam filling, they do like this. So they want to make this is the burr. That is the shape of the burr. That is the shape of the burr. So this is what they're creating. They're creating a retention. The dentist will create the retention. So meaning, instead of straight, they can do straight, right? But the dentist will create like this. She wants to make sure that the preparation, the drilling must have like this. This is what she wants to do. That is the retention. Okay, that is the retention. Why? If I'm going to fill in, I'm going to fill in. This is the filling material. This is the filling material. So if it is like this, it will not gonna come off, right?
Yeah, needs angles.
It needs angles, yes. Compared to, because with composite, it is straight. So I will tell you when we are in the composite, that is a different retention. So we make an angle, yes, like this, so that the filling material is not going to fall out. So this type of retention is for amalgam. Okay, the dentists do this for amalgam. Okay, so let's move to the one that we're talking about. So look at that. That is the one that they're telling, the retention groove. Okay, the dentist will use a burr or hand manual cutting instrument to produce this retention form, creating a crevice in the tooth that the material can lock into. Even though retention holds the material in place, it does not completely seal the tooth structure together. Microleakage can still occur between the material and the tooth if additional materials, such as bonding material, is not placed to create a seal. So that is how we do in amalgam. Okay, we're talking about amalgam. That is the way the dentists do for retention. For composite, it's a different story. Okay, so let's go for composite also. So for amalgam, they do that. And then for composite is another way. So for composite, composite is straight. They didn't do a crevice. They didn't do any angle. It is straight. Now they place a different materials in order to hold. So we have the etchant. Etchant is made up of phosphoric acid. Okay, so when we are doing that one, I always ask you to always wear the proper PPE. Number one is I always tell you that you have beautiful eyes, right? And when you hear me that you have beautiful eyes, I know I can see that automatically you place your glasses, right? Because we are handling different materials. So this one is acid etch. Acid etch is made up of phosphoric acid. So I don't like that to go into your skin, especially your eyes. Okay, so make sure that we're not having it. So who's not in our? Anyway. So this is for composite. This is for composite. We place etchant first. When we place etchant, we place it there. Okay. Only on enamel, if it is enamel. And then we wash it again. We wash it. How much? According to manufacturer's instructions. All the time, if we are talking about how much, how long, it is always according to manufacturer's instruction. So that etchant will produce a frosty appearance. They will produce micropores. So what do you mean by micropores? Little holes. They will produce little holes. We call it micropores. Little holes. Etchant. Now, after etchant, we're going to do the primer and body. These little holes. And then we cure them. Once we cure them, it will set. And then that's the time we will place the composite material. So that is the way for composite material to adhere. It's a different way.
Yeah, this way helps to more fixed composite.
Not fixed. In this way, in order for the composite to adhere. To hold, hold or adhere. All right. Unlike in amalgam, the dentist will do this type of retention and not placing any of the bonding or etchant. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's continue. So curing. Remember, curing is the light. You use the light, and then if you use the light when you are doing the material, it will not gonna set. Set is to harden, right? So you have all the time to place, to seal, to distribute all the material, and it will not going to set not until you do the curing or you cure them. Unlike the self-cure or the auto-cure, you need to move fast. You need to distribute it evenly. You make sure that you seal them very well. You curve them. You smoothen them because it will set. It has a time limit to set. So that is the difference between curing and the auto-cure or the self-cure. Curing is a setting process of dental material that is initiated by chemical reaction or by light in a blue wave spectrum. So meaning it will not going to set, not unless you will introduce them or you will light them. Curing of most dental material is the process of placing a paste type material into the tooth preparation for adaptation. After the material is in place, it is then cured to harden. So curing is to harden. An auto-cured or self-cured, this is the one that I'm saying, material hardens as the result of chemical reaction of material when mixed together. So if you have two materials, catalyst and base, once you mix them together, they will start to set. The material must be mixed and placed within the manufacturer's working and setting times for the material. Curing action proceeds from start to finish by itself. So we have to move fast or else it will set. Okay? So it's not only the dental materials that we place inside the tooth, like alginate also, right? Once you mix the water and the powder, they will set. The gypsum, once you place the water and the powder, it will set. That is self-cure, we call it, and or auto-cure. So when it comes to dental, for the materials that we're talking about placing inside the tooth, it is known as auto-cured or self-cured. Once two materials mix together, they will start to harden, catalyst and base. So this is an example of curing light. Again, guys, if we are doing the curing light, when I demonstrate to you the composite or anything that we use curing light, make sure that you use the protective shield because you need to protect your eyes. Okay? Don't tell me you have your safety glasses. The safety glasses is different. The shield is different because this is a sharp light. It might damage your retina. Okay, so we will use a shield to this one. Now, with a dual cured material, some curing takes place as the material is mixed. However, the final cure does not occur until the material has been exposed to curing light. I explained this a while ago, right? The dual cure is a combination of self-cure and the curing light. So this type of material, when you mix the two materials, they'll start to harden, but they will not harden as hard as we wanted to until you cure them. So this is the dual cured is combination of self-cure and curing light. Okay. Now let's move to restorative material. So you can see this photo, right? You can see this photo. So tooth number 16. What is the amalgam cavity classification?
Class 2.
Class 2. Thank you. What can you see on the buccal pit? That is the buccal pit that I'm saying. That is class 1. Remember buccal pit or lingual pit? So that is an example of buccal and lingual pit. And then remember, I told you when we are doing the charting, do not involve the occlusal, right? Not too high, should be in the center because that is how the buccal pit or lingual pit shows. So when we are doing the charting, do not place it too close to the incisal or occlusal, sorry. So did you see that? So that is class 1. What about the tooth 15? Class 1, class 2?
Class
1.
2.
Class
2.
2. Because
Yeah.
that is occlusodistal.
Yeah.
Okay, and the 16 is mesio-occlusodistal. Do not forget the naming. Remember, you remove AL and then change it to O. Okay, so look again the tooth number 16. Look at the tooth 16. Can you see the one on the, I will tell you the surface, mesio-buccal cusp. Mesio-buccal cusp. Can you see that yellowish there?
6.
16, tooth number 16. Mesio-buccal cusp. Remember, we have 4 cusps. So, yes, that is class 6. Thank you. And the other one is distolingual cusp. That is also class 6. So now you have the idea of the buccal pit and lingual pit class 1, the MOD or DO for class 2, and now that is class 6. Remember the class 6 for molars, we have 4 cusps. Mesio-buccal cusp, distobuccal cusp, mesiolingual cusp, and the distolingual cusp. So this is a mesio-buccal cusp and a distolingual cusp. Can you follow? Do you understand the class 6? Uh-oh. No one is answering me. Good. Good, if it is yes. But I want, again, because we are going to continue the charting, I told you, that's why you have to have all the time charting. So again, when it comes to, remember for charting, we have, and then you have this one, and then you have in the bottom, right? So let me do it properly. For maxillary, we have vestibular. Do not forget, okay, we have vestibular lingual, right? So you have here the molar.
Write something?
Dr. A,
Okay. Yeah?
if you're showing us your screen, we can't see it.
No one can see it?
No.
Oh, okay. Let me. Now, yes or no? Okay. All right.
Yes.
So remember with our charting, this is vestibular, this is lingual. When we're talking about maxillary, okay? So this is the tooth. Okay. Drawing. So this is what I'm talking about, the occlusal surface. So this is the mesiobuccal surface. This is also the mesiobuccal surface. This is the distobuccal surface. This is also the distobuccal surface. This is the mesiolingual surface. This is the distolingual surface. We understand that one, the surfaces?
Yes.
So the classics that we saw, is here. And once you place it, you also place it here also. And the other one is here. I place circle because it's a decay already, or like that. But we will discuss more of class 6 next time, as long as you have the idea of what is class 6 and the class 1 and the class 2 for now. Okay. So let's go back to our book and I will give you a 10-minute pee break. I know this is kind of like interesting chapter. All right. So now let's deal with amalgam. Amalgam is the silver filling. Dental amalgam is safe, affordable, durable material used predominantly to restore premolars and molars. Mostly they are in the molars and premolars. Indications for using dental amalgam, very important to know. Primary and permanent teeth, we use amalgam. Stress-bearing areas of the mouth, small to medium-sized cavities in the posterior teeth, severe destruction of tooth structure as a foundation for cast metal, metal ceramic, and ceramic restoration. So meaning, if there will be no more tooth structure and then you're going to use a ceramic restoration, when you are talking about metal, ceramic, we're talking about crowns, okay? We can place amalgam as a retention, or it can add more material and then we place the crowns. When a patient's commitment to personal oral hygiene is poor, meaning they cannot take care of the composite because they do not brush very well. When moisture control is problematic, moisture control meaning, remember, in order, the key, all the time, the key for a successful restoration, regardless if it is filling or crown, the key for the restoration to hold is isolation. We keep them dry. If there is some liquid, fluid that penetrates before you place the filling material, it will not going to last. It will fall out immediately. When cost is an overriding patient concern, because amalgam is cheaper than composite. Amalgam is cheaper than composite. Now, contraindications to the use of dental amalgam when aesthetic is particularly important, such as in anterior teeth or in facial surfaces that can be viewed. Facial surfaces. So there are times that the dentist will use amalgam on the maxillary incisors lingual teeth. Remember, we have class 1 lingual teeth and maxillary incisors. They place amalgam. Okay, but of course they want it only on the on the lingual area. So with patients who have a history allergy to mercury or other amalgam components, And when a large restoration is needed and the cost of other restorative material is not a significant factor in the treatment decision. As I mentioned to you, sometimes the patient will choose function versus aesthetics. Now, composition of amalgam. Dental amalgam is the end result of mixing nearly equal parts of mercury and alloy, meaning equal parts. So, when you mix alloy and mercury equals amalgam. Okay? So, the alloy powder is combination of metals. Amalgam alloy powder is composed of the following metals. We have the silver, you need to know this, which give its strength. Tin for its workability and strength, copper for strength and corrosion resistance, and zinc to suppress oxidations. So these are the combination of metals that make an alloy. And then silver is the main component and it gives strength. The main differences in the composition and classification of amalgam alloy powder are base alloy particle shape and size, copper content, and zinc content. So for high copper alloys frequently used in dentistry, are named this because they contain higher percentage of copper than previous alloy. High copper alloys are classified according to their particles: spherical, round particles, irregular, rough, flat, late cut particles, and these particle shapes influence the trituration. You know the trituration, the amalgamation, right? Condensing and carving of the result of amalgam mixture. So meaning it depends on the particles. The the bigger the particles, the rougher, the duller. The small or the fine, it will make your material fine. But there are also some that is combination. Okay, so we'll stop here, get a 10-minute tea break, and then we will continue. Okay.
Hi, I just wanted to say I'm here now.
Who's I'm here now?
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie. Okay, good. All right. So get a 10-minute tea break, guys, and then we will continue.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.